There's something about wielding a massive weapon, calm down, that just feels awesome. No, seriously, calm down in video games. Because when it comes to sheer interactive entertainment, video games have the pretty unique monopoly on what it can feel like to swing a sword bigger than your body. What about the idea of the absolute biggest weapon in gaming history though? Is it something we can actually equip, something we just sit back and admire, or something in between? Let's find out. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 biggest video game weapons ever. Number 10. Sephiroth's Masamune, Final Fantasy VII. Giant swords are a staple of Japanese media, with many anime series, games, and movies featuring larger-than-life blades and other weapons. Arguably the most iconic oversized sword in all of gaming then is Cloud's Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII. However, it's not the biggest blade in the game for sheer length, with that title going to main antagonist Sephiroth's weapon, the Masamune. This iconic Odachi blade measures longer than the silver-haired villain himself, which puts it approximately 7 to 8 feet long, easily one of the biggest blades in all of gaming. The origin of the Masamune is never explicitly stated and leaves some mystery as to its background, maybe something for the ongoing array of Final Fantasy VII Remake media to finally address. Number 9. Smaug's Hammer, Dark Souls. From Software have crafted some of the most memorable, exhilarating, and memorable boss fights in all of gaming, and almost all of the bosses will drop a unique soul item that can be used to craft a special boss weapon. Enter legendarily hard duo bots then, Ornstein and Smaug. After traversing the treacherous area of Anor Londo, players are met with the gruesome twosome inside the cathedral. Dragon Slayer Ornstein is a smaller, more nimble opponent who'll close down players with his thrusting spear attacks, whilst Executioner Smaug is an enormous hulking beast who has a much slower but more powerful moveset. Smaug's weapon of choice is a giant golden hammer, with which he sweeps and smashes around the room. Upon defeating the duo, you can use the Soul of Smaug with a hammer or great hammer to receive this mighty weapon for yourself. Number 8. The Finger Gun, Resident Evil 3. Despite being a fairly short game where replayability is a must to get your money's worth, the Resident Evil 3 remake delivered extremely polished visuals and some awesome gory gameplay. Evading the terrifying mutant superweapon nemesis, Jill Valentine gets pretty damn creative, putting down a creature that always seems to freezer its way into another transformation and keep the fight going. During the final battle, Nicole Tompkins' Jill busts out one of the best action scenes in recent memory. Being so thoroughly done with this enemy that just won't die, she picks up the ferromagnetic infantry-use next-generation railgun, or Finger for short, to blow it apart for good. This ridiculously large railgun has to be charged with 10 enormous batteries before Jill can even get the shot off. After weakening Nemesis, and again what a scene, Jill plants the weapon inside its mouth and blows the beast to Kingdom Come at point-blank range. Just saying, in the pantheon of final gun-based kills like Doom 2016's or Metroid Dreads, this is right up there. Number 7. Chaos Eater, Full Form, Darksiders. I like to think of the Darksiders franchise as an almost more anime-infused spiritual sequel to the Legacy of Kain. All regal dialogue, cool lore about gods and the underworld, and featuring some sick gothic architecture, though nowhere near enough people talk about what a cool IP it really is. Anyway, first game's protagonist War has a signature weapon that's absolutely enormous, longer than his entire body, which is already pretty large. Chaos Eater is the first weapon that you get your hands on, and its signature ability is to absorb chaos energy from fallen enemies, which you can then use to activate the extremely powerful Chaos form. When this devastating state is unleashed, the Chaos Eater becomes even bigger and is engulfed in flames to burn through anything in your path. Throughout the game, players can enhance the sword with a variety of upgrades which offer the Chaos Eater effects such as increased damage, health regen, more XP gain, fire damage, and much more. With so many enhancements and an increased size during that final form, this hellish blade only gets more satisfying to wield over time. Number 6. Bayonetta's Hair. With double jumps, dashes, summons, and guns, Bayonetta has one of the most diverse combat systems going, leading to some extremely satisfying hack-and-slash gameplay. With guns even on her shoes, high chain kicks, and infinite ways to create combos, best of all is that Bayonetta's outfit itself is also a weapon. Infused by her powers as an umbral witch, it's made of her own hair. These flowing locks can be used to devastating effect, expanding to extreme sizes and delivering sweeping attacks useful for dealing with crowds of enemies. Combined with her summoning abilities, Bayonetta can transform her hair into a variety of forms, including a gargantuan dragon that can expand to the size of a skyscraper, attacking and swallowing even the biggest demons. Number 5. The Hammer of Dawn, Gears of War. There are many iconic weapons from Gears of War, such as the Lancer, the Torque Bow, the Boom Shot, and a whole bunch more. There is one, however, that put a smile on every Xbox 360 owner's face: the satellite beaming devastation of the Hammer of Dawn. Greater in size, scale, and power than most weapons available in any third-person shooter, this laser weapon calls down a focused beam of energy straight from space. Particularly useful against bigger enemy varieties like Berserkers, Brumacs, and Corpses, the hammer is only ever available in short bursts across all the Gears games, lest it be the most OP thing in the entire genre. Number 4. Sahelanthropus. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. From Armored Core to Titanfall, video games always get mechs right. The Metal Gear Solid series then is famous for helping bring mech love to the West, giving us a number of iconic designs that are almost all nuclear-equipped walking battle tanks. Designed to launch nuclear strikes from anywhere in the world, Metal Gear Solid 5, despite being set decades prior to the likes of the aquatic Metal Gear Ray, dialed everything up. Sahelanthropus, a hulking bipedal tank armed with a flamethrower, Gatling guns, anti-tank missiles, and deployable drones, towers over you during gameplay, and can even wield an enormous nanofiber sword because Hideo Kojima. The fight against this thing is one of the coolest visual spectacles of the 8th generation, and if we're factoring in controllable Metal Gear mechs as well, then let it be known Metal Gear Solid 4's section with Solid Snake behind the controls of Metal Gear Rex is gaming royalty too. Number 3. Wailing Dark. Asura's Wrath. Asura's Wrath is on another level of over-the-top action, with outlandish enormous bosses, insane combat, and a gorgeous visual blend of science fiction and Asian mythology. Like, hey, Netflix, of all the animated adaptations you're doing, Asura's Wrath with Arcane's budget would be incredible. Anyway, during the game you actually fight your former mentor and the god of greed, August. Asura and August take their epic battle to the surface of the moon, and it's here where your old friend draws his sword, the Wailing Dark. Having Asura on the ropes, August forces him back across space into the planet Gaia, impaling him with a now massively elongated sword and using such force that it penetrates the world's surface. August then plummets towards Asura, forcing the sword through the entire planet, seeing it burst out the other side. All of this makes the blade a few 100,000 miles long, and we're still only at number 3. Number 2. The Crucible. Mass Effect. Across all of Mass Effect, you're looking for a way to defeat the ancient, barely comprehensible evil known as the Reapers. Playing through the original trilogy, you'll discover that the space station known as the Citadel, built by fellow ancient race the Protheans, is actually part of a whopping great energy weapon no one has ever fired. The Reapers wiped out the Protheans before they had a chance to build this crucible, putting the onus on you to amass a workforce big enough to collaborate and pull the galaxy's biggest trigger. Setting the Crucible off requires a sacrifice at the altar of some all-knowing AI overlord, but the sheer power on display rewrites the cosmos, letting you choose between obliterating the Reapers, controlling them, or birthing a whole new form of life hybridized from organics and synthetics. It's kinda like if God wielded the Neuralizer from Men in Black. And number 1, the Halo Array. The titular ring worlds of Halo are immediately iconic, a series of sandbox biomes where you battle a covenant of alien races, the Parasitic Flood, and eventually the Prometheans. As you unravel the story of these ancient rings across both Bungie and 343 Industries' work, you discover there's way more to them than just looking pretty. The Halo installations were originally created by an ancient species known as the Forerunners, in order to serve as a last resort in their conflict with the unstoppable infection force, the Flood. When fired, the colossal sacred rings wiped out all sentient beings across the galaxy, meaning the Flood were thought to have starved without biological hosts to feed on. Obviously, we all know how that went from Halo 1 onwards. Entire religions have formed since the rings were only fired once 100,000 years ago, with the Covenant mistakenly thinking that activating them again is how they can truly ascend. Instead, this network of 7 enormous planet-sized ring worlds is our candidate for the biggest weapon in gaming history. At least, that's what we think. Let me know your own favorites down in the comments below, and please subscribe to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'll catch you soon.